Welcome back to another episode of Whiskey Wednesdays or Wednesday. I don't know. It's not really official for anything, but today I have another special guest and his name is Scott Rippey. Right, that's how you pronounce your last name, just to double check before I go forward, right?
You didn't throw an L in there, so I'm happy. Everybody says Ripley.
Ripley, like Ripley's Believe It or Not?
Oh, you know how many times I heard that as a kid?
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, you know, people always just call me Shoemaker. Oh, crap. I just said my last name. Well, it's out the window. So, all right, solid start. Well, so Scott is with me today, and who is Scott? Scott is a filmmaker, and we met online, just like how I met all my friends. I have no friends in person, and me and Scott met in Full-Time Filmmaker, and we just started talking. He started liking my videos that I was posting, and we became friends, and we have a lot of things in common, which is whiskey, film, and that's about it. Maybe more. We'll find out on today's show. So Scott, welcome. I hope that you're going to enjoy this as much as I am. It's a little earlier for me since you're over on the East Coast, but you've watched this show, correct?
Oh yeah, yep. I tend to either enjoy it with morning coffee or I wait till the evening and have a whiskey.
There you go. I think it goes down a little bit easier with whiskey because you can kind of, get on my level a little bit, understand what I'm ranting about. But yeah, so the way that the show goes is that we open up and reveal our first bottle. So if you want to do that right now, Scott, since I can't see you.
Yep. Nope.
But yeah.
Yeah, we're doing this old school, people. We're just talking on the phone. I'm looking at the camera thinking I'm seeing him. So we got Buffalo Trace.
Unfortunately, yeah, until they keep promising me that they're gonna get internet here, but until that happens or Verizon goes through cement buildings, it will not work out. But yeah, so today we are drinking Buffalo Trace, and Buffalo Trace is one of my favorite budget bourbons. And when I say budget, I'm talking about around the $40, $35 price range. And I think this is a very smooth, very great price bourbon for what you're gonna get. Other ones that I can recommend off the top of my head, and Scott, you can correct me if you have different bourbons in mind, but I think Mitchers, I love the Mitchers bourbon, that's for $40, and I also love Russell's, and that would be, I believe the 6 year is at $40, and those are some of my three favorite bourbons. I was just gonna start naming off other whiskeys, and then I realized they weren't bourbons as I was about to say that, so. So Scott, you've never had this bourbon before, correct?
Correct, which is really funny. I mean, it's like, obviously, everybody talks about it, great for the price. Like, people talk about starting with this one when you start. I never did. I just, for some reason, never picked up a bottle. So this is my first time. It'll be fun.
All right, well, let's open it. Obviously, you can see mine is already open. I was going to finish that, but that's actually quite a bit, so.
You never know.
All right, let's get some ASMR going here.
Oh, yeah, hold it up to the microphone.
Ooh, beautiful. I can hear you pouring yours from right there. I'm gonna pour mine right up here for the people to see. Okay, mine just sounds like I'm taking a piss. It didn't, because it's like too empty, so there's no glugging going on in it, so.
Yeah, I got a good glug on mine since it's a fresh bottle.
I know. I heard that sounded nice. We'll just use your glugs.
I did think to take off the wrapping before this because it took me a minute. I'm like, I don't want to be wrestling with that on the show.
See, you're always so prepared for these things every time we talk, and I feel like I'm just like, it'll work out. Everybody has different types of personalities, though.
You're a go with the flow guy. I love that. I need to be more like that. I'm way too, I'm always like worried about everything. I got to have everything the way it should be.
Oh, that's how Kendall is, and she gets very frustrated with me. I'll tell you that right now. All right, so I'm gonna take a nice smooth sniff of it real fast.
Smells good.
I don't know if mine is like because it's near the end of the bottle, but I can't really smell much on mine. Well, maybe I can. Maybe I just need to drink it. Oh, but I don't know what kind of glass are you using? I'm using like a wide glass for it. I don't know what the different types of glasses are, but
people are gonna roast me for this, but I'm using one of those like taster glasses. I can't remember. There's a name for it. It's like the actual like. It's not a snifter.
The ones that you're supposed to.
Yeah, it's like.
It's
What do they call those?
I have some of those.
Yeah.
The problem is I can't. It's really hard to clean them because I don't have anything. My fingers aren't long enough, and my hand's too big, and then the brush. So Like I have a few, but I can't clean them. Like I've kind of soaped them down, but there's like still whiskey residue in the bottom of one because I forgot to clean it. So that's why I use the wide one when I'm here. So.
Yeah,
All right. Well, I'm gonna try it out.
I got a tiny little brush too that I can use on these. This is good. I like it actually.
Yeah, it is good, but all whiskey's good. So.
Right. But I'm actually impressed. I mean, when I bought this, I got this for like $33 in Michigan when I went home, and that's really good for $33.
Yeah. Have you ever had Russells before or Mitchers?
Yeah, I was gonna say those are great picks, especially because they're affordable. You know, full disclosure, like I typically don't buy super expensive either. Like I'm usually in somewhere between the 30 and 50 range when I buy stuff. The most I've ever spent on a bottle has been $80. Which I think was the Whistle Pig Rye. I don't remember what year
10
it was.
year?
10 year, I think.
It'd have to be 10 year.
10 or 15.
Because
yeah.
the 12
or 12.
15 is $200.
That's right.
The 12 is like 120 online.
So it was 10.
I mean, it just depends on where you are. So.
Yeah, it was 10. The 5 or 6 one that people find, I'm actually not a big fan of that one, but the 10 year is really good.
Do not drink the 6 year is god awful.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Whistle Pig. They make such great whiskey, but the 6 year literally tastes like Jack Daniels.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, there's something about that. And then I tried the 10 year and I was like, this is amazing. I was like, it's so different.
Ooh, this is getting a lot better after my 12th sip. I just make up numbers because I have no clue how much I've sipped it, but
I mean, I can't see
it's
it,
getting
so
sweeter.
I'd believe you.
It's getting sweeter for me. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because, and maybe somebody can answer this in the comments, but when you get like farther down a bottle, I feel like it just has like a little less flavor in it. Which actually wouldn't make sense. I feel like it'd be the opposite, right?
Somebody was just telling me about this. Actually, I don't think you're very wrong on that because this is actually a good story. I was talking to somebody who gifted me another bottle that I have sitting here on the table. This is like a $400+ bottle. Like, and I met this guy named Steve. Shout out to Steve. He wants me to send him the link to this when you post it. But just a random guy that I met, at the grocery store drinking. We had that conversation.
That's where you meet all your random guys.
Yeah,
of course.
Sorry, I meet all the random guys. And
in the liquor aisle.
And we were talking bourbon one day, like a couple weeks ago, and he's like, "Hey, let me know next time you're up here, and I'll send you a bottle, or I'll give you a bottle." And it's a single barrel sour mash. It's Elmer T. Lee. And
Elmer T. Lee is so good.
Yeah, and I took a sip of this last night because I got it yesterday, and I'm like, wow, like I can't believe.
How much was it?
It's a $400+ bottle when you look it up online. I mean, I don't know what he got it for, but the fact that he gifted it to me was amazing. Like I thought, I mean, super cool guy. Shout out to him. He just loves bourbon.
That's impressive, yeah.
Wanted to pay it forward, we were talking. He knows I haven't gotten to try too many like really expensive things. Like I got to try Blanton's one time and I liked it, but he said this was he brought me this. I couldn't believe it. So I don't remember why I went into that story, but
No. But yeah, no, Elmer T. Lee is super good. A lot of their bottles like go for much higher than what their retail price was, because if I believe correctly, it's actually not really bottled anymore, or they make a limited release and then it just like shoots up in price. So people will buy it and then resell it for $1,200, $400, $350. Yeah, Elmer T. Lee, George Weller. That's a really good one as well if you get the right one. Some of those, like they have like this beautiful cherry finish. But yeah, right now this, the reason why you're saying the story, which you never even talked about, was because when you get to the end of the bottle, that's what you're talking about.
Thank you, yeah. So I was talking to him and he told me, he goes, basically, you can obviously, I think we all know this, you can open, it's not like a bottle of wine, you can open bourbons and cap them and everything. But when it gets closer to the bottom, they say, there's a certain point where you want to finish it, and I think because there's more air in the bottle than bourbon, so there is something to that. So I think it probably changed the taste on you.
Yeah, it's feeling, because right now it's like not satisfying enough for me. I've had it before where I really like it, but it's almost like when you leave a soda open for too long and it becomes flat, Yep. Like you're missing that to it. So maybe I taste the alcohol. That's about it.
Right now. I guess I'll just have to enjoy mine a lot more than you enjoy yours.
I know. So I'll let you describe it. How can you tell me the taste right off the top of your mouth?
You know, it's just a smooth. I mean, it's actually pretty smooth. Taste wise, it's just like a kind of a straightforward bourbon to me. I'm not getting any hints of anything that I can really describe. You know, like sometimes you'll get like a maple or something else. You know, it's just, I don't know, a good bourbon. I don't really get any particular things that pop in my mind on it for taste, but it's good.
So right when I first taste it, if I'm trying really hard to think about it, I get like a kind of like a little bit of a sweet honey, like a little bit, like very subtle, and then it drops away. Then it's pretty smooth through the middle, and at the end, I'm getting kind of like the heat and the burn.
Yeah, I definitely get the heat at the end. Yep.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's so funny. Like, it's so funny. Like, I don't get why, like, with certain alcohols, like, you'll feel the heat right away in some of them in the middle, some of them at the end, some of them not at all. You know, even though they can be the same percentage of alcohol. It's just interesting. Like, it's just fascinating to me.
It is. I love that you know, we like watching, you know, you and your show with this. You're just doing it because you like it. You know, you like bourbon, you like talking about things, and this is good conversation.
Well,
you know.
I'm definitely not teaching anybody anything. That's for sure. I have no clue.
It's fun though, you know, and like
Yeah.
you know, I'm not an expert on bourbon either. I mean, you've admitted that. Like, you know, neither of us are experts. We just enjoy it, and we like learning about it and tasting it, and you know, it's fun. I think that it just needs to be enjoyed. You know.
I almost bought a new bottle of Buffalo Trace because it's like, oh, it's pretty empty. I should probably buy a new one for the episode. But then me and Kendall were doing like this whole spring cleaning right now, but it's winter, obviously. We have like too much stuff. I need to do it for my studio too, but just too much stuff. And so we went through everything, and I have so many bottles that are like this much, like a little bit left in them. And so I put them all down below, and I have so many whiskey bottles now, and like so many I haven't even opened yet. And me and Kendall talked about it. I'm like, I need to stop buying whiskey for a little bit until I work through some, because we're running out of space for me to have whiskey. So that's kind of like the rule. That's why I didn't buy anymore. But yeah, no, I like this. I know because I've had it before, obviously, and I'm drinking a lot of it. It's a good go-to. Oh yeah, Woodford Reserve. That's the other budget bourbon I like. And I know I think you're the one who recommended Woodford Reserve to me in the first place.
I might have been.
I drink that. I drink that spiritually, and religiously, and metaphorically at times. So I just like it because like you get a good woody, like ironically, you get this good like oak woody taste to it, and it has a good kick. It's pretty smooth all the way through, and for the price, you can't beat it. So.
Yep, I enjoy the regular. The double oaked is my favorite. I really enjoy the double oaked, and it's still not very expensive. I think the double oak's only $40 to $50, somewhere in there. I
don't think I've had the double oak yet. I need to try it.
Try that.
I see it at the store. I just haven't. I've just had their like straight bourbon or whatever, the one that you can always buy. I have like 5 bottles of it because people kept gifting it to me, and then I forgot that I have one that's like a liter, like a huge one, like a handle. That's the same shape as the smaller ones, and then I have the other ones that are 750 milliliters.
A Woodford? They make a huge one? I haven't seen that.
Yeah, at Costco.
Oh, yeah, of course. I gotta look for that.
Everything's bigger at Costco. So.
I know.
But yeah, so I forgot that I had all these different ones, and I keep opening them, so now they all have like a little bit drinking out of them. So see, that's what I'm talking about, where I have too much alcohol that I need to fix.
Well, you know, I actually want to start, like, I'm kind of jealous of everybody that has these collections. Like, I've always loved bourbon, but I usually buy a bottle and have one, and then it's gone. Like, I don't really like collect it and or save it. And like now I'm getting to the point where, like, on my table, if you ever do a wide view on this, like, I've got 3 bottles. I've never had 3 bottles at once, like, at home. You know, it's like, oh, it's kind of nice because I want to have stuff for when people stop by, like friends, and, you know, just like, hey, let's, you know, you want to try something? I just kind of want to get into collecting a little bit of it, you know, even if it's not expensive. I don't, you know, really care about that, but.
Yeah, no. I mean, I like, my favorite thing is like bringing people into whiskey that have never actually had whiskey before, and then like having them try it for the first time, because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like whiskey, and usually that's because they had Jack Daniels or something like that when they were younger, you know, and they've never really got to experience whiskey properly. And so I love taking people in and be like, all right, like what kind of flavor profiles do you like when you drink alcohol? Obviously, I mean, some people say beer, some people like say they like something sweeter, some people like say they like something drier, and so then I like to like take some of my different whiskey bottles and then give them a little bit of a tasting of each one. I'm like, all right, I want you to try each one of these and then tell me what you like, kind of thing. And then most of the time, I can find something that somebody likes. So
yeah,
I enjoyed that a lot.
It's really cool.
My advice, if you're gonna start doing a collection for you or anybody that's watching, is that unfortunately, you have to drop a little bit of money, but the best way to do it so you're not doing the one bottle and then going through it is you kind of have to go with your intentions of buying like 3 or 4 bottles to start, because then it's gonna be a lot harder to work through that. And then every single time you go and like you're interested in whiskey again, then you go and buy another bottle, and that's just how you kind of keep it up. Another way to do it is like what I did and what grew my collection really fast is I got a subscription to Flavier, and then so they quarterly give you a bottle and a tasting, and then if you like anything from the tasting, you can order that as well. So it's pretty cool. Unfortunately, like now that I've been in it for almost 2 years, I feel like I've almost done all the whiskey tastings and like kind of almost running out of the bottle selection. So if it keeps like growing the selection, I think it'll be awesome. But I do like that a lot, and that opened my eyes to a lot of whiskeys as well. So
yeah, I need to join a club because that's a good way to taste a lot more. Because I mean I've tasted a smattering, a decent amount, but like by no means have I tried a lot of the ones that are out there. And so I think being in a club would be really cool. There's a lot of affordable clubs, I think, like you were saying too, that it'll send you like a tasting of things and you can get bottles. And I need to do something like that.
yeah, I don't know how much Flavier is quarterly, because they only charge you quarterly.
Okay.
I can, if you are interested though, I can give you a link to it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we both get a free bottle on top of that.
Oh yeah,
So
I like that.
it's not like only a benefit for me, it's a benefit for you too.
Yeah.
And anybody else that's watching, if people even watch it this far. I have no clue. I've looked at the analytics of this show, and like percentage-wise of people that watch through is nobody. But this is my time to drink and just talk.
There has to be at least one, because that's me.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know. I don't look at the percentages.
Yeah.
It actually, this is my worst performing videos on YouTube are my Whiskey Wednesdays. Apparently people do not, I mean performing like as in thumbs down, because they don't show them anymore on YouTube,
Oh, yeah.
interestingly enough. But I can still see them, so.
Well, it's cool because you're doing it because you want to. It's fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I like that you're doing this on your channel. Like, you're just doing something somewhat random because you enjoy it. It's not going to hurt your channel. People are still going to follow you for your product stuff, but you're doing something fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy it.
No, 100%. I don't care. If people don't like it, or I've gotten to the point in my life where I'm like, if people don't like what I do, then so be it. You know,
that's
I'll die happily with whiskey bottles surrounding me.
That's
Going
social
out.
media though, right? Like that's, you have to just be you and don't worry about what people think or goodness.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, you do, once you start to gain that following and like a lot of your work is dictated by it, you have this fear of feeling like you have to follow or do what's going to make people happy. But after a while, if you're smart, you'll realize that that will make you extremely unhappy, because being an artist is all about expression. Mm-hmm. And if your expression is just being a slave to those who watch your videos, then the problem is you're not a true artist anymore. And that's where I think it really starts to affect you. And luckily and hopefully you can get out of that. I was just watching Gerald Undone like 4 weeks ago. He had a whole video on talking about like how he wants to change his channel from just doing product reviews, right, to doing something more, because he feels like pretty much pointless, but he feels like he's stuck and that he can't change it, which was a really good video. But I mean, and it really resonates with me as a creator and probably anybody else that's a YouTuber.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you're pretty much just being controlled by the people, even though if it's not purposeful, like, cause that's what they want. People like when I do other videos that are not product videos, it doesn't do as well, right?
Yep.
It doesn't really get me work, but I enjoy that. But people just want to they want me to keep telling them how to do product videos. And I'm like, oh, there's only so much I know or so much I can do. So you kind of get a little crazy after a while.
You're like, hey, I got a course for that.
Yeah. It's funny because people will ask very detailed things, and I'm like, it's my course, and they're like, well, I want it for free, and I'm like, Okay, well, I already give a lot for free. Let's
You do, yeah.
let's help me out. Let's help me live a little, right, guys? No, so Scott, it is gonna be the new year when everybody watches this.
Yep.
We are filming it on the 31st of December.
New Year's
so,
Eve, starting it early.
Yeah. Happy New Year. And the first thing I want to ask you is, we're going to go through just quite a few questions of this last year and the year to come, and what works for you, and I'll answer it after. I'm just going to make up things as I go because, like I said, I don't plan anything. So, all right, Scott, tell me, and it can be about film. It doesn't have to be, it can be whatever you want to say, but I want you to tell me, what has been the most successful thing for you this year?
Yeah, it's probably film related because, I moved to North Carolina from Michigan 2 years ago and then had to kind of build my business back up. And then, of course, COVID happened. And so this year, the most successful thing for me was probably just, finding those good clients for me. And we bought a house. We actually moved a little bit closer to the mountains and bought a house. So a combination probably of buying the house we wanted to. This is gonna be our long-term, house. And just that the lifestyle. We're just being where we want to be, and the business is going well for me. And it was a good a year to kind of establish a baseline. And then I think I'm looking forward to 2022 because I think this is gonna be where a lot of things happen that I want to happen, and it's I'm excited about it. So
would you say that like your business has grown or diminished since your move?
Grown, definitely. So long story short, I went full-time only about 3 months before into film. I used to be an IT consultant, and I went full-time about 3 months before the move. But I had been doing it only for about a year before that. So built up some clients in Michigan and was doing it on the side, and then until I could, leave the job and do that full time. But then, of course, we moved. We were planning on it. It wasn't, last minute, but definitely grown. The trajectory has been nothing but upwards, which is good.
And what would you say, like, what is most of your work that you do in film?
It's corporate clients, so doing like testimonials and ads and brand message videos and things like that. I mean, people have different terms for those things, but just a lot of corporate and business work, which I enjoy. I am going to get into some more product, based stuff, like obviously like you teach. I've learned a lot from you, which is really, really cool. Not just from, your course and what you post on YouTube, but just, talking as friends, you're a very creative person, so I enjoy that. You think outside the box. So definitely looking forward, now that we have our own house, this space I'm in right now, I haven't used for products yet, but this is basically my product room. It's actually painted black, floor to ceiling. So it should be a lot of fun this next year. I've got some plans, so.
That's awesome, man. I'm really stoked for you. So now you have to ask me what was my most successful thing, so it doesn't sound like I'm just talking about myself.
I would be interested in that, just because you're a busy guy. You between YouTube and people don't realize, like, too, you have clients, you have other things you're doing besides YouTube, and YouTube takes a ton of time and effort. Like I always thought I was gonna have a channel, and I don't like being on camera, so kudos to you for actually getting me on camera. But I'm curious about that. So, like, what was your biggest thing, because you got a lot going on?
Yeah, I honestly, now that this came out of the blue, I wasn't expecting this question, so I haven't really had much time to think about it, but no, honestly, I am kind of drawing a blank because I'm like, what did I do this year? Honestly, so I tell Kendall this all the time, that or she says this as well, is that like I live my life in dog years, meaning like a day feels like 2 weeks to me, so I get really confused on what happened or not happened, kind of thing. And I'm like, wait, was this year or not this year? And I'm pretty hard on myself with my own work, I'm sure, because I've sent you a lot of stuff. I'm like, I don't like it. So like usually I'm sending it to like figure out what's wrong with it, but you're like, oh, it's fine, kind of thing. And so this whole year, like I was thinking, I'm like, man, I don't really like any of the work that I created this year. I'm kind of bummed out about all that. Like I want to create bigger. I always want to do bigger and better. I don't even know what that means. I just want to do bigger and better. But then like I kind of realized, I was like, oh wait, I did this year, because I started looking back at my YouTube and stuff like that, and there's a lot of things that I'm actually pretty proud of myself for, and not like a pat on the back, but just because there are things that I felt like I wanted to quit on when I was doing them or like inventing them, and they just didn't work, and I would retry it. So for example, like one of the things was that that product spinner that I built. I did like maybe 12 beta versions of that where they kept failing and kept failing and kept failing. And then eventually I was able to take it after I did that Oreo shot where it dips into the milk, right? And I think that was this year. I hope so. If not, then I guess the year before was a lot better for me. But yeah, so I took the Moses slide pod, right? And then I got to dip the Oreo in and then circle around with the product spinner that I built. And that was, I think I shot in my apartment. That wasn't even all the builds of the product spinner itself, but I think I shot in my apartment 5 or 6 times to do that tutorial before it worked, like different days, right? Where it just failed, and then I had to rebuild it from scratch because it just wasn't working. And there was just so many different iterations of that. And so I think like one of the most successful things that I had this year was that on not like, I mean, I've been pretty good at being determined and not giving up on things, but you know, just sticking through things and then having something that I'm pretty proud about, like come full circle, and something that I'm like, oh, like that actually looks pretty decent kind of thing. So I don't know. It's not like working with anybody particularly that like inspires me, but like just knowing like that I can work through things. And then the other thing that I'm pretty proud about is obviously, and not a plug at all, but my product video course has grown immensely. Like we have over 1,500 members now in the course. Not everybody's on Facebook, unfortunately. So, you know, but like I'm very excited that people find an interest. And truthfully, I've only had one person give a bad review to me about the course, but I've had so many people give very positive feedback. And the one person, they just said that they hated my marketing, like teaching people how to market. And they said that it was really simple and stuff like that. And then they wanted a refund without even looking through the rest of the course. Like they literally just did the first chapter. Oh. And unfortunately, but like, I mean, I can only teach from my experiences. Yeah. Like that's how I am. I'm not going to tell people, I'm not going to read a book and be like, all right, do this. Like I have to do it myself. And I know that the way that I marketed myself was very successful. I don't know if it's the best way, but it worked for me, right? And so I think, I don't know the person, so I'm not gonna like judge them on that, but I assume the reason why they're upset is because people think because they see you have success, like you're gonna tell them something that's just gonna flip a switch. They don't have to do anything else. They just have to press a button or flip a switch, and all of a sudden they're gonna be successful, right?
Yeah.
And I know now, obviously, for having the product video course out for a year, that the way that I've taught people, which is probably way different than what David teaches in his Real Deal Strategy course, but the way that I've taught people how to get clients works 100% because I've had so much feedback from people in the course saying how successful and how much they've grown their business. I just saw somebody today on the post that I posted in the group that he made $10,000 a year before and then switched fully to product videos and now makes $70,000 a year. So doing the course and doing what I told him to do kind of thing, you know? And so like, I'm pretty proud of that. Like that people are being able to chase their passion because of a idea that I almost didn't even go through with, which is make this course. And then now people have income and jobs from it and are like doing things. And I'm hoping, you know, changing the filmmaking industry forever. Should we do that again?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, clap. Wait, it doesn't really matter if we clap at the same time because I'll sync your audio and my audio separately.
You're right.
So.
You're right.
I don't know. It's not like we're filmmakers or anything. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know. I've never done like podcasts before, and I've run into so many issues each time I've done like this, where like the audio stops or the camera stops, and so I'm still trying to like really nail it down. So like each episode has had a problem where I've had to cut some like a section out because, or like the audio stopped working or something like that. So I'm still working on it.
It probably takes a little more time, but I imagine you could be able to, like, I know I like the split screen you have with you and Joey, but you could probably also once in a while go back and forth to a full screen with us. So that makes it easy to put it together where you can't tell there's cuts.
Yeah. I wish. You know? Yeah, that's true. I I want to do it eventually if like this grows, you know, it becomes something that like I can actually like profit off of, then I can like invest in like flying people out here and like actually doing it and hanging out with them and stuff like that. Because I feel like being in person is just so much more, it's better, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So-
Well, you know, I'm down to come out there. I mean, I'd probably pay for it anyway.
Well, why didn't you say this before we started this episode? You should have been over here.
We got to hang out one of these days. I know, that's the thing. We've never gotten to hang out, and I'm like, I need to make it over there.
I haven't hung out with a lot of people that I know, so, or quote unquote that I'm friends with. So I've not met a lot of people that I'm friends with. So a lot of pen pals.
Pen pals. I like that. Yeah, pen pals. That's what we all are. I've met so many
Digital
good people
pen
through
pals.
these film groups, though. Like, so I wanted to say that too. Like, you know, your course is great because it's not just the course; it's a great community. You know, and I feel like, I mean, it's not about the platform, but you know, there's a Facebook group, right? So whatever platform it may be, it's just nice that everybody connects and helps each other, and you've got a really good thing going there with your course. That's really cool that you're proud of that. You know, for this last year, I think that's huge. You know, that's something you built, and it's amazing. You know.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a lot more work and undertaking than I thought, because I mean, I run everything, like, so I run about 85% of it. I have Joe helping with the marketing, and he has a guy that sometimes replies to emails for like inquiries, but that's all based on sales. Everything else, like questions people have, emails, like troubleshooting, like anything in the course is like all me. I'm doing that. I'm running my YouTube. I'm running my Instagram, like completely. Like I respond to everybody on Instagram, unless people just send me their videos without any context. I'm like, I'm not gonna respond. What do you want me to do? Give you a thumbs up? Like,
do you get those messages where people just send you something with like no context? Just like,
oh yeah, all the time. I honestly, like, I don't know their intent. I mean, I know what their intentions are, but like, if you're not gonna be like, hey, can you like critique it? Like, I just think it's kind of rude to be like, look at my video. Like, that's kind of what all you're saying to me. And I'm like, all right, well, this is very impersonable, so I'm just going to delete it. That, or if people just say hi, that's it. If they don't say anything else, I'm like, I'm not here to have like a small conversation or a long conversation with you. Yeah. And then I'm also running through all my clients, which I've got it down to like doing 2 clients where I budget myself out now. Like I do about 2 clients a month. And even then that's sometimes pushing it, because that's sometimes pushing it, just because sometimes some of my clients are like a little bit need things a little bit more than other clients. But I just officially signed my first, because I never do them because they usually go through because my prices are too high for it, but my first retainer for 1 year, and I'm doing that right now, which is
awesome.
The client's really cool, but it is also very hard because like their product, like it's not like a product that you can interact with a lot. Like their marketing is great, but it's very hard to like be fresh with it. And I've realized that that's one of like the hardest struggles that I've come up with is like doing a retainer client is very, it's different. Yeah. It's different when you have to keep coming back to them. Like I have clients that always come back to me, and I've like been like, hey, let's do a retainer because you're losing money by, you know, just hiring me every month. But so like, for example, like Sneak and the Senecake company, like I do videos for them all the time, stuff like that, and they're not retainers, but I love working with them. Like both like there's certain companies, like that's one thing I'll tell people, and a goal to aim for next year is when you find a client that is super easy to work with, that your creativity matches with their style and design. You know, it's a little bit hard when you're first building your clientele roster, but as you build and you get more successful, which you will by growing your clientele, is you just have to find the clients and cut the ones out that are troublesome. It doesn't matter about the money, because in the end of the day, we all die, which is kind of a dark turn that I'm going with here, but I'm just saying we eventually all die. Well, I'm just saying we eventually all die, and why waste your time?
Yeah.
Money is not going to provide you happiness, but if you are a true artist and you love filmmaking, then work with clients that are going to fulfill that and let you be creative. And so I only work with my clients. I mean, some of them I have to learn because they're new clients. I'm pretty good at like gauging clients now by talking to them and stuff like that, or potential clients. Yep. But yeah, so like I have like 4 select clients that I just always work with no matter what. Everybody else, kick them to the curb.
Yeah, you know, I'm 100% on board with that. Like, it's, you know, obviously when you start out as a filmmaker, especially when you're, working for businesses and, you're not in film per se, but it's hard to not try to take everything, right? You're trying to make a living, you're trying to, do it. But the best thing you can do is say no, as you get further along in your career path, and try to really work with those people that are worth working with. Those companies, the people, like you're saying, the relationships, like Sneak, you and I have talked about them a little bit, and obviously that's been a great relationship for you, and it shows, like, they trust you, right? Like, when you find a client that, like, is excited to work with you and they trust you, and it's fun.
And your
that's
work
the whole
is
reason you
better
got into
too.
this. Yeah.
Your work is better because of it, because when they trust you, they let you take more risks and you feel more comfortable to take those risks and stuff like that, which is huge. So like, because of that, like, the work that I always produce for them is always great because they allow me to do whatever. They trust me. It's not like this whole thing to like, well, like, we need it. And they're a very rare client. Most clients, like, I'll storyboard for, but they're like, hey, here is like our general concept. And I know, like, if a client says that and you've never worked with them before, don't do it. I've learned that the hard way. But like, if you worked with them before and they are super easygoing and they say, hey, we trust you, do whatever you want, and you've worked with them before multiple times, then you can do that. And that's like one of those clients, which is just a breeze to work with. Because then I can spend more time just messing around in front of the camera and doing weird things than I can, like, trying to come up with a concept right at the computer right then and be like, all right, what are we gonna do? Like, it's gonna make sense, kind of thing. Sometimes, like, creativity is a little bit easier when it's just, you let it happen, kind of thing. So.
Oh yeah, those edits for Sneak look like a ton of fun. Like, I enjoy those. Those are probably some of my favorite. It's funny. I was thinking, like, so how long have we known each other? About 2 years, maybe ish, somewhere in there. I think. So for people that don't know, like, I think the first time I ran across you, obviously Full-Time Filmmaker is how we met, but it was your San Francisco video that was the first thing I saw you do, way before the product stuff. And it wasn't the second time. It was the first time.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
that's what I was gonna say. So that was a long time ago. That was more than 2. That's 3
maybe more.
years ago.
Yeah, maybe it was.
Because I redid it during COVID because I saw an opportunity to redo it during COVID. Because ironically, when I shot that, there was nobody out in the streets because I'd get up super early on the weekends in San Francisco and nobody was outside. So because I wanted to look like this desolate place, like that nobody was. I think I'm using that word right. Kendall says I throw around words randomly, like I use big words and I have no clue what I'm saying half the time. So
I believe you're right on that. So
oh, sweet. Education with Austin.
And ooh, that's catchy. I always what do I joke about? Fireside chats with Austin. Like, I want to see you like in a robe with a bourbon and a fire behind you, like on a chair.
That's what I try to do with this. But I used to have the first episode that I did, I had a lounge chair, but his problem was it kept slipping back farther and farther, and then eventually my focus went out of focus, and I was getting a little too plastered there. So it was a pretty sloppy first episode that we had. So this is like a little bit of a cleaner setup, and I'm a little bit closer because, like, with the chair, the angle that you have to be at to show the whole chair is like super wide.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of weird things that in film, like, that you don't think about. Or I mean, I know we think about, but as a person, like a regular person, you don't think about. And you're like, well, why don't you just do this? When I first started, oh my gosh, how many people in the peanut gallery, i.e. my family or anybody I knew, would love to give me an advice on, like, they're like, well, why don't you shoot this? Or like, oh, do you see that? Like when I'd be doing travel filmmaking. And I'm like, and I could tell them because, like, I know, and it wasn't because I think I know everything, not that, but like you train your eye to know what's a good shot or not. Like, because what you see with your eyes is completely different than what your camera sees. And people don't understand that. And they're like, get a shot of that. That's really pretty. And I'm like, no, your mind is just tricking you. That's not actually pretty. There's telephone wires right there that your mind's blocking out. There's like that right there. The light's actually not that good. And they'd be like, just get it. Like, I'm like, all right, I'll show you. And I'll take a picture of it or like get a shot of it. And they're like, oh yeah, that's bad. I'm like, yeah, no, I know. But like, it takes time to get that eye for that kind of stuff. Like what a camera sees, like you're trying to think like a camera, which a camera sees everything. Your mind blocks out things. And so I always just found that funny. Like, as like I started my company and stuff like that. And also the other thing is everybody will always hand me their cell phone and they'll be like, oh, take a picture of us. And I'm like, I am not good, especially for women. They hate when I take pictures of them. They're like, that's not flattering at all. And I'm like, I am not a photographer nor a cell phone photographer. Like, I don't know what you want. And I'm like, I'm not a pro. I'm not going to make you look amazing all of a sudden, like from like a cell phone, like photo that we're just taking right here or whatever. So they're like, you should know this. You're a filmmaker. And I'm like, it's a completely different thing. It's not the same thing. And people think it's like the same thing across the board. I'm like, this is completely different. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how many times people have gotten upset at the photos I've taken for them off their phone. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't know.
I know, and like people who don't know, like when you're out, you know, you're like you do video, and they're like, take a photo. I'm like, I mean, photography and video. I mean, there's some stuff that is
there's similarities, but there's
yeah.
But I mean, it's
I
still
would never say that I'm a
different.
photographer. You know what I mean? Because there's a value and a skill to that, and I know some basic concepts, you know, with framing and lighting and other things, like, you know, videography and photography are so different, and I think that you can, you know, have some skills coming in to either one if you're one or the other. But I would never, you know, I don't cheapen people who are photographers. Like, they know their stuff. Like, this is a specialty. You know what I mean? Like, just like they couldn't come into video and just kill it right away. Like, they have to learn things, and same thing for photography.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You know?
It's almost like insulting to photographers to say that.
Yeah.
I'm a photographer as well. Like, yeah, I know, like, I can take a better photo than most people. I know how to use Photoshop. I know how to use Lightroom, but like, I'm not going to give you something amazing with your cell phone kind of thing. But yeah. So, Scott, next question of the year. You ready for it? So,
oh, man. Hit me.
All right. Well, I asked you what was your most successful thing about this year. What was the least successful or the most hardship or the thing that was the hardest for you to go through this year?
Oh, man. I'm going to have to think about this for a minute, so you will totally probably cut right here.
No. We don't cut. This is a live show.
No cuts. It's all live.
People asked for me to have this live, and I was like, first off, I don't have internet. Second off, I need to have like a filter just in case if I say something really ridiculous that I need to cut out of this show. So
you need like a
I
buffer.
get a little wild sometimes. Yeah, exactly.
You need to have like a 10-second lag and be able to hit a button and be like, no.
Look, I'm a good guy, but I do say some out-of-pocket things, so.
Out of pocket, I like that. Oh, boy, you know.
It doesn't have to be filmmaking either.
Yeah, it could be anything, really. Oh, you know, so, yeah. Basically, you're saying the hardest thing for me this year is something that I'm not happy with, basically?
Yeah, or like something that you just struggled going through or working through and stuff like that.
Well, health and fitness, you know. I've always been somebody who's been into it. I've been, you know, up and down throughout my entire life with it. You know, obviously we go through phases in life, but for me, this last year was, well, the last 2 years, honestly, kind of, you know, fell out of shape and just, you know, with the move and COVID and like, it's all excuses, right? Like, you know, it was just basically I kind of let myself fall off to the wayside, and the last couple of months I've been starting to, you know, now that we bought a house, I got space in the garage, and you know, the wife and I are getting back into working out, and I've got all kinds of you know, equipment for that stuff, and so the new year is going to be nice because my focus for 2022, not only my new business, you know, but it's health and wellness, and you know, the more fit you are and the better you feel, the better everything is in your life, right? Like, the more energy you have, the more adventures you go on, the better your work and relationships are. So for me, that was my biggest thing in this year was, you know, only the last few months is when I started trying to finally get back on that track, and I'm excited about this next year because I've got some good plans, and I'm going to follow through on them finally. So kind of just, you know, we've all been there. I kind of wallowed for a bit. You know, we all do it, you know, from time to time.
Oh,
Nobody's
100%.
perfect. Nobody's perfect, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
But,
no, I actually just saw your photo yesterday, I believe. Of you posting pictures of your weights. I think you're deadlifting. Front
squats and deadlifting, yep.
Yeah, there you go. I can't do any free weight exercises with my legs, unfortunately. Yeah, because I have such a bad back, and I know people can be like, you have to do this and you have to do that. I pulled my back and my hamstring so many times that it's at a point where it's like, I've tried everything. I've done physical therapy. I've done it all kind of thing.
Wow.
And no matter what, if I do squats free weight, even if it's proper form, my back is out. Like, I have really bad sciatica, whatever you want to say. But like, I will not be able to walk kind of thing, unfortunately. But so like, I know my limitations as you get older. That's one thing you have to unfortunately realize with weightlifting is like, you have to figure out what works. And even though that free weights are obviously better for doing like legs, like doing squats and stuff like that, it's not better than being injured for 2 weeks, right? So.
Oh yeah. Well, especially
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing too. Is like we have to carry equipment and everything. So like, and I understand back issues. I never had them for most of my life, and then I pulled my back a few times. No discs or anything, just some muscle pulls and stuff. But I mean, even from what I had to deal with, like backs are the worst. Like lower back, when you pull your lower back, oh, so I can't imagine what you're going through with that. I never knew that. I never knew you had those issues. I know
Since I
you're
was
working
18.
Out. Yeah.
Ever since I was 18.
Wow.
It's not even, it has nothing to actually to do with age, but I've pulled so many muscles like in my lower back and my hamstrings. I like, my muscles are naturally tight, I guess, and I'm not very flexible. I do a lot of stretching, but even then, like, that doesn't stop the problem, unfortunately. So I just have to be careful. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll feel acting up when I'm doing like leg days and stuff like that. So, but I stick to like leg press.
Don't skip leg day, bro. Don't skip leg day.
And I'll do like I'll do Smith machine for a lot of my workouts, but I stay away from squats altogether just because I've had to throw off my back so many times, and then you can't do anything, when your back is out, kind of thing. Not only not work, especially with our jobs, right? But these last 2 years have been pretty tough with working out. I consistently worked out my entire life, starting my junior year in high school, and I just turned 30 2 weeks ago. And so the biggest gap and the longest gap I've ever had from working out, because I worked out consistently, was COVID, because the gym shut down and I just lost so much motivation. And I almost forgot, because you're in this mental rut because you're stuck at home kind of thing anyways. But I almost forgot how important working out is to your mental health and how much happier it makes you. And now that I'm like back in that, the endorphins that you have and stuff like that, it's insane. Like a lot of people go through life and it's crazy. They don't realize like how, because their normal is being unhealthy or not working out kind of thing, and no judgment or anything like that. But it is like, it's a completely different world. And trust me, it doesn't get any easier when you work out for a long time. Like I wake up every single day and I'm like, I don't want to go to the freaking gym right now. Like, oh my gosh. Like, but you have to find what works for you. It's called the habit stacking, right? And so my habit stacking is I wake up, the first thing I do right when I wake up from bed is I meditate for 15 minutes, because if you do 12 minutes a day of meditation for 8 weeks of mindfulness and just trying to always bring yourself back to your mind, you will be a calmer person. You'll be a person that's more present, which I'm trying to work on. So like that's easy, because right when I wake up, my alarm or my calendar reminder says, meditate for 15 minutes. I'm already in bed, so I just do it. I sit up, just do it in bed, boom. And the next thing I do, no matter what, is go to the gym. If I don't do it then I don't do it at all. And I hate it every single time, but I love it afterwards. And it's just one of those things, like, it's a very hard thing to get into, so I completely understand. But I try to tell people, if you can at least stick to 2 weeks, just go to the gym. You don't even have to know anything. Like, you really don't. Like, just go work on the machines. Just work on the machines, and you just do 2 weeks, get over that first hump. And once you actually start seeing those changes, like in the feeling that you have, like, it's very hard to want to walk away from that feeling once it happens. And I mean, that's what happened to me. I had a trainer when I was a freshman in high school. I was gonna say college, right? And I couldn't work out for the life of me. Like, I'd only go, the trainer's like, you need to go these days. I could never go. And then my junior year, when I didn't have the trainer, I started going every single day, like going kind of like crazy with it, where I'd work out full body because I didn't know what I was doing. I'd work out full body. I'd be at the gym for 2 hours every single day for every single day of the week for junior and senior year. And once I started seeing that transformation from being like this skinny little kid to like more in shape, and like people noticed it. I felt better, because like you have these endorphins, like you just feel healthier, but at the same time, like, I was getting outside validation, and it's a very hard thing to like stop, kind of thing, So like that's what I recommend to people.
Yeah, and I've always been like, I don't judge anybody for what they want to do. It's all it is about moving. If you get out and move, whatever your choice of workout is, whatever you enjoy doing is good. I mean, right? I love CrossFit. I love making fun of it too. Like, for all you people that are going to be in the comments, like, make fun of it because it's hilarious.
I'll make fun of it. So
I mean, you gotta have that. And anything we do, right? You gotta make fun of, be able to laugh and make fun of yourself. I mean, anything we do, right? But I totally get it with CrossFit. Like, it's pretty intense. Like, you get some crazy people that really get into it, and it's with all the gear and all the, it's fun. But
100%.
It's one of the things I've enjoyed a lot, and I used to actually fight and train MMA amateur. I was never a pro or anything, but I used to do that, back in the day. I used to be, I was, being 6'9", a basketball player for a while, and it's just, I've been through so many different things, and it's just whatever you enjoy, like go out and do it.
Did you just say you're 6'9"?
Yeah. You didn't know I was that tall?
You're 6'9".
How did that never come up?
Oh man, if we actually met in person, I would have been so shocked. Dude, I'm only 5'10", so oh my gosh, that would have been a huge. See, I would have never known. I thought you're maybe the same height as me, so that would have been you're almost a foot taller than me.
Oh man, that would have been really funny to not have that come up, and then we meet, and then you're like, what?
See, these are the things because I talk to Joey every single day, and I always joke around, and I'm like, he told me he's like 6'2" or whatever, and it's hard to tell obviously in his videos, like there's no perspective for it, and I'm like, I always joke around. I'm like, what if you're not even the person that you say you are, and it's like this whole thing, and you're like completely different. You're just like a lady that's like 5'2" or whatever, and we've been having this conversation. You're just catfishing me this whole time. But yeah, I feel like I'd have to like start standing up straighter now, hanging out with him, because I just imagine everybody being the same height as me. I think it's just this natural thing that I go to. So, damn, so you're 6'9". That's insane.
It's so hard to tell. Like I always, say that about sports and stuff. It's like hard to know how tall anybody is. Like I watch. I'm a huge, still a big USC fan. Training in it before, so it's fun to watch it. Like I don't watch a lot of sports anymore, so it's one of those things where like you can't tell, like unless they tell you like how tall people are, like on film. Like it's just
especially like basketball and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
because
basketball. You can't tell.
All of them are tall.
Yeah,
right.
They're all so tall.
Nobody looks tall. Or the same with football. Everybody's so big and jacked that nobody looks like that jacked because they're all big. Like
it's the frame of reference, right?
It's funny. Like you get one guy and you're like, oh, like so. For example, in basketball, like everybody thought Allen Iverson's like super small, but he's actually not that small. Like he's not that short. I mean, he's shorter than you, but he's not that short, right? Wasn't he like 6 feet? And everybody's like, oh, he's so short, because perspective wise, he's like way shorter, or he's 5'10". He might be actually my height, but like he's way shorter than everybody else on the basketball team. So everybody's like, he's so tiny, right?
Even
and
like
he's
Jordan.
way taller.
Jordan was what? Like they said 6'6", but maybe he was taller, but I think it was 6'6". Like Jordan looked like, because of how tall
tiny.
everybody was, like he seemed like he would be a 6-footer to me, but he was 6'6" or 7. Who knows? Like I don't know, Pippen was around 7 or 8 too, but so you can tell I'm a huge Bulls fan. Like I don't watch pro ball anymore because I grew up on the Bulls, and I miss those days. Like I was a Jordan fan. I loved it. Have you seen? Speaking of that, have you seen The Last Dance?
I've watched 5 episodes. I don't think I've watched 6 episode, but I enjoyed it a lot. And
I think it's the best sports documentary I've ever seen. I was like, even if you don't follow basketball,
it's really good.
You can watch it.
Yeah.
Like the whole timeline thing. Like I loved how they were like honestly storytelling, right? Like they're telling the story of the last season, but at the same time they're bouncing back and forth to setting the stage of each championship year before that, and also character development of these people when they joined the team, and like it was just crazy how they would go back and forth
stuff like that. Yeah.
And then by the end, it was like it all came together. It was so amazing.
Oh no, I enjoyed it a lot. Another thing that I really liked was Drive to Survive. I started watching that, and I fell in love with Formula. Not enough to watch it like on the weekends, but like appreciate it a lot more. So
shout out to David Bibiano. He told me about that, and I haven't watched it yet. I need to watch it. Like he's like, you need to watch it, because like I'm not huge into racing, but he's like it'll just
you don't have to be be into racing at all. So that's like the beauty of it. I mean, I loved it a lot. I just want to make sure everything's
him and his wife Courtney love Formula One. I love that. They're so into it.
I don't love it enough. Like I like how Netflix or the documentary breaks it up, to make the most interesting moments and then add the drama in the pits. I don't like it enough to watch people drive around in circles. Like I've done Formula 3 racing, not like professionally or amateur just
dang.
for fun.
Really?
But yeah, Laguna Seca, I got to do that because I filmed for a company. I did a trade with them, and I wanted to learn how to do Formula 3 racing. I almost crashed really badly. So, I mean, I did not crash per se, but I did spin out, and I almost flew into the wall. It gets a little hairy. The thing is like, so it's not like hard to drive, right? But it's hard to drive. Everybody has a skill limit. Like where once you start going at a certain speed is what I realized. Like your room for error is smaller and smaller, and that's where the skill really comes in. Is like, yeah, you can drive around a track like at 100 miles an hour. Obviously not on the turns, but like with no problems whatsoever. Wait, no, that seems incorrect. Okay, so you can drive around a track around like at 60 miles an hour with no problems whatsoever, right? But as you start to push that more and more, and where your skill lacks is gonna show, because your room for error on the things that you're doing, if you're doing them improperly, right? So like, for example, when you need a downshift, it's called blipping, right? Where you're gonna be hitting the gas and the brake at the same time so that you're not transferring weight, because when you're braking, you're transferring weight to the front of your tires, and when you're accelerating, you're transferring weight to the back of your tires, right? And traction, I guess. Traction is very important in making sure that you don't fall off, like spin out or fall off the track. So if you're going super fast, your room for error of messing up, like you can get away with a bad blip when you're not going super fast, right? Because you don't need as much traction, but the faster you're going, and people can probably cream me for this, I don't know, but like I'm just saying, like this is my experience, and what I'm kind of going through with it is when I started going faster and faster because I was getting more and more comfortable, I was going way out of my like skill zone, right? And then when I messed up, you could definitely tell, like I spun out. So for example, I was coming over the hill, and so like then as you're coming up over the hill, your car's lifting up a little bit, right? And then I needed a downshift because I was going into a turn in my blip. And so what happened is I downshifted improperly, and what I did is it leaned too much forward, lost the back of my tires right there, right? And I just spun out. And another time I was coming way too fast into a turn, and I downshifted improperly, and the same thing again is like too much forward traction and not enough in the back, and then your tires in the back, there's nothing holding them down because all of your deacceleration is in the front. When you're blipping, it's trying to keep that even because you're accelerating and deaccelerating at the same time, kind of thing. So something like that. I don't know. Everybody can hate me on that, but I mean that's like my experience is like, what really matters is just like you being able to do those proper movements, knowing how to take the turns right, knowing what your car can really, like the limits it can handle, but then being able to execute those properly. And it's pretty insane if you think about it, because those guys are doing it for so many laps. Like they're just going around and they're like, I have to hit it right just like this, because every little freaking decision that you make, or every kind of like the way that you take that turn, is going to affect your time so much. I've gotten really into go-karting, so I'll go with Kendall's family and we'll go to the indoor electric tracks. And that is one thing that I don't know what it is with like my brain or whatever and the way it works. And I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm special or anything like that, but for some reason, like a lot of things don't excite me in life, which sounds very strange. Like I am a very exciting person. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter. I've drinking quite a bit of whiskey at this point. I said I wasn't gonna finish this bottle, but we're getting close there. And that's what Whiskey Wednesdays are about. Good conversation.
I've done a decent amount on my bottle too so far, so
if yours
hopefully
is
nobody
as
judges
empty
me
as
for
mine,
that.
if yours is as empty as mine, then I'm gonna be a little bit concerned. But you
No.
probably since you are 6'9" now, knowing that, which is insanely tall.
Yes.
I should have known this because I've seen group pictures with you, and like you're kind of like over the top of everybody, leaning over.
At David's wedding, you saw the picture at David's wedding, right? That's like my cover photo now. Like everybody's like, oh my god, you're a monster.
Maybe I thought everybody's like 5'5". I don't know. The crappy thing is I'm not even that short. I mean, I'm not even short. What am I saying? That short? I'm not short. I'm 5'10" and a half. Which when I feel like you say like, like a half, like then you are short, like you're trying to compensate for something. But I'm 5'10" and a half, almost 5'11", which is almost 6 feet. We're just rounding up here.
Yeah, and round up. Always round up.
The thing is I I feel so short because I don't know anybody shorter. I mean, I used to have friends that are shorter than me, but most of my friends are all taller than me, and it kind of sucks. I'm like always trying to be like, why am I like, I feel like I'm just like the tiny person next to everybody, and I'm like, ugh. Like,
I will tell you,
so.
if I ever meet anybody that's taller than me, which happens occasionally, like basically it's a 7-footer, right? It really weirds me out. Like
you feel short, right?
I feel really weird because in my life, like I very rarely run across those people, right? So it's like, I mean, I was 6'2" in 8th grade, so I was pretty tall.
Holy moly! So I have a few friends that are like pretty tall, like that are not as tall as you. I don't think they're that tall. Like that's very tall to me. You might be the tallest person I know. Personally, no. But like they're like 4, 6'5" and stuff like that, and super friendly guys. And like I'll say goodbye to them, and like, I mean I know them because like they also have a wife. I don't actually hug my friends when I say goodbye to them unless it's like, you know, for some reason it's not a weird thing. Like I just realized this. Like unless it's like a couple friend, I will never hug the guy goodbye.
I do.
But if it's a couple friend where like I kind of know both of them, then I feel so uncomfortable. I'm like, what am I supposed to do here? With Kendall's family, like I still like sometimes I'll hug them, sometimes I don't. I'm like, this is weird. Like, am I supposed to hug you? Like she'll hug her parents. We live literally like 10 minutes away from her dad, and she'll hug him every single time. And I'll just like, I purposely stand back so I don't have to hug them. Like I've hugged them before. I'm not like that weird, but like I'll purposely stand back because I'm like, this is such a weird, I don't want to go into that weird situation again. Like, let's kind of awkwardly hug again. Like, you don't need to hug me. I don't need to hug you. Let's just pretend like we don't need to have to hug each other kind of thing. But
that's like the fist bump or handshake when you go in and one throws one and one throws the other. And you're like, oh.
Dude, I'm the most awkward with handshakes because I don't know. There's no guy code on what freaking handshake we're going to go through with. I'm like, are we going to hug? Oh my God. How many times I've been like, and then like hug, half handshake, and you just look like an idiot. But what I was trying to say,
I do the bro hug. I always go in. It's one
hand, one hug.
Yes.
One handshake, one hug kind of thing. Like let's hold hands, which is like, is that worse that you're holding hands with the guy and you're also hugging him at the same time?
Oh my God. Yep.
I don't know. It's so awkward. I don't know why it's so awkward, but I'm like, because I don't know what to do. And like half the times I'm like, I feel like I'm accidentally slapping the person with my hand in their face a few times. Like I'm like, let's just not do it. Like I'll say, see you later, you know, which I still like, you feel this like cringiness inside you. But what I'm trying to say is going back to everybody that's taller than me is like, I'll hug them and I'm like, oh, I'm a little child. Like when I hug somebody that's 6'5", I'm like, thanks. And like my head just goes up to their chest and I'm like, I'm just a little human being. I'm like, thanks. I feel so like demasculated when I hug somebody that's that much taller than me. I have this friend that we were friends with, and I'd hug him. I'm like, see you later, bud. And just my ear goes up to his chest. And I'm like, yeah, that was fun. Like, I'm like, and now like I feel like I am
Austin man-child.
not that manly. Yeah, I'm not that manly at all. So, but some people, I mean, just genetics wise, like some people are just built bigger than other people, and it's wild. Yeah. Like I was watching Game of Thrones, not to get back into that, but like,
are we about to have a rant?
No. I like Game of Thrones. So
I know. I so enjoyed your rant on the last season when you were talking to Joey.
I'll give you a rant, but we'll get to it in a second because I'm gonna ask you, and it's gonna be a loaded question. And you have to answer it right.
Good.
So let's jump into that. But I think you said you had something you wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
I went off on a tangent there.
I have always wondered. Okay, so you've obviously done a lot of traveling and had a lot of experiences. What is the one like activity? Because I know you like to do things, right? Like, so what is the one like? It doesn't have to be a sport or an event or anything, but like, what is the one thing physically you'd love to do that you've never done yet? Like, what's something you would love to try and experience that you haven't done?
That's a good question. I've done a lot of things on my bucket list, like a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's so hard because I'm not a person that I do have a list, but it's not like a real list. It's ever changing. And it's not until I see something, I'm like, oh, I want to touch that. Like, you know, like I'm like a little kid in a candy store. I'm like, oh, that looks tasty. Even when I pick out whiskey, I'm like, that bottle tasty. Label looks cool. That. I don't know. Like, who knows? I told Kendall, like, my goal in life is to touch everything in this world with my eyes. So like I want to see every country. I want to experience as much things as I can, and that will be sufficient enough for me. But even then, like what I realized is such a faux pas, because you could live in your town. Like, so I grew up in a town that's really beautiful, small town. And I realized I'm like, I've never been down that road my entire life, and I never will. Yeah. Like, so like, even if you want to go see, like there's people that have been to every country in the world, but you're not really experiencing that. Even when you go to a country, you're only experiencing like, even if you spend a month in a country, you're only experiencing such a small part. There's so many different avenues and things you don't see and stuff like that. So it's impossible to touch everything with your eyes. But like, that's kind of the statement of my life is like, I want to experience everything with my eyes, at least, you know, like obviously you can't touch everything. That's illegal in some places. But I don't know. What do I want to do? I've done quite a bit of things. I've flown a jetpack. I've raced a Formula car. I've rode a bull.
You've flown a plane, which I recently messaged you about. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I had an instructor in there. It wasn't like I was just like doing barrel rolls or anything like that.
I was impressed.
I do really want to experience. I do really want to experience that thing that astronauts go around in, like boom, boom, that thing. I don't know what that's called, but I also want to experience flying in a jet fighter. That'd be cool. That is a bit expensive, but I will drop the money one day. And the other thing I want to do, but I'm afraid because it's about as expensive as flying in a jet fighter, is going to Antarctica. But I feel like I'm gonna get there and be like, all right, well, I did it, because
a bunch of snow.
I don't know. Money is not a thing. Like, money is not like a worry. I mean, it is a worry to me. Like, obviously I worry about money. I'm not like, oh, I have so much money, I have to. Yeah. But like, even when I had no money and I was making no money, what I'm trying to say is like money was never like the thing that I wanted. It was experiences. And so I would take all the money I had, even when I was first building my business, and I would spend it just to go on those experiences. And so like, I do want to do Antarctica, not just to say, but just to have the experience, whether it's good or bad. Like, I want to know what that experience is, kind of thing. But my expectations are low. Like, yeah, you can go see penguins or whatever, but like, I don't know what else. Just ice, right? I'm assuming you get on a boat for like 7 days, and what are you gonna get on there and just gonna be ice? But I still want to do it. You know, I still want to do it. I don't know.
I feel like it's more about where you're at than what you're gonna see, because you know what I mean. Like, it's just something that you haven't seen, right? But
yeah, 100%. And like, who else can say that they've been to Antarctica?
Yeah. I mean,
not anybody you know, probably.
Nobody I know.
I don't know. Exactly, nobody I know either. I saw like they had a marathon in Antarctica, and I was gonna do that.
Oh yeah.
But then I remember hearing about that. It was way more money. It was way more money than actually traveling to Antarctica, and I was like, oh yeah, you know, I don't need to go run there. I'll just look at it with my eyes. But I mean, I want to do things like that. I just want to have stories. Some of my best stories are some of my worst experiences in life. And not worst experiences, that's not the right word, but like some of my best trips that I've ever had are some of the hardest things that in the moment I didn't enjoy it as much as looking back with the nostalgia, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Like, going to Mongolia, like, I don't, like, you know, when you have a dream that's so amazing and you try to explain it to somebody and you're explaining it to the person, and in your head, you're like, this is not doing justice at all. They're not picturing what I'm saying, but it's impossible to explain it to them. Right? Yeah. And I feel like you said but like, you're like, sure.
No, I mean, no, I...
You're like, yeah, sure, I don't know.
So, I really appreciate, like, you know, we talk about that, like, obviously you have to make a living, right? But I love your point of view on that, and that's what I try to do too, is like, yeah, we have to make money to live, right? But the whole point of making money is to... pay the bills, but also experience things. And that's why I love that you're trying to do, right? It's like, so when you say you don't care about money, that's what it means. Like, I get that. Like, yeah, you have to make money, but you don't care about making money because it's about, I just need to make something and then experience life. Like, I love that you take trips and you're trying to like turn it into something, and you got to have, like you said, not to be morbid, but like, we have a limited amount of time on this earth, so it's like just trying to get out there and experience life. Like, we need to travel a lot more. My wife and I, like, we've done some. Need to do a lot more. COVID kind of stopped that for a while, but now that things are opening back up again, like, we want to get out of the country more. You know, like, I want to do some of these things I've have on my list. you know.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it really depends on, you know, who you are as a person though as well. I mean, so I do like traveling, but it has to be purposeful traveling. When it's like, when I go traveling and it's like, oh, just go explore the city, like that doesn't fulfill me with as much happiness as when I'm like, all right, I'm going to go do this like bucket list thing. And that's why I'm going to do it. And it's obviously like kind of ridiculously expensive and time consuming just to go out and do one thing. For example, for my birthday, we went bobsledding, and would I recommend for anybody to go travel to go bobsledding? Probably not, but it was something that I wanted to do on my bucket list. It literally lasted 50 seconds, so I flew and spent 3 days traveling just to go bobsledding.
Like, did you guys both go in? Who did the run? Who steered? Like, tell me about that.
I mean, I actually have a whole vlog that I was supposed to post, but then at the same time, I'm like, does anybody want to watch a vlog? Like, that's how I feel about it. I'm like, I don't know if I'll post it. But like, so we flew in there. Our flights got delayed. We got there at 2 a.m. We couldn't get our car. Luckily, our Airbnb person, she was nice enough to pick us up from the airport 30 minutes away. And so our Airbnb was super nice. We had this like whole house to ourselves. It was beautiful. Me and Kendall and my parents went. I'm very close to my parents, so they came and celebrated my birthday with me. And we booked for the next day. It was the middle of the day, like around like 3 o'clock, that we booked to go bobsledding at the Utah Olympic National Park. That's not right. Olympic Park. And so the way that they have it set up is you take they have a certain amount of people going at the same time. You take a shuttle all the way up to the top, like you check in at the main desk and you go all the way up to the top of the Olympic Park, and you get into this thing. They give you a briefing, which is very low key. Like I said, I've done a lot of things on my bucket list, so I've done a lot of different like dangerous things, and so this was like a pretty fast briefing. He's like, look, you just want to keep your head, your shoulders up, keep straight so you're not bumping into people. I mean, honestly, he could have just said like it's like being on a roller coaster, because it's literally exactly like being on a roller coaster, except for a lot colder. But then you load up into a van. They put the bobsled in. You drive up to the top. You're only doing 2/3 of the track. I think it's honestly the reason why I think it's so expensive, which it's like 160 to 180 a person for 50 seconds, right? Which is pretty wild. And me and Kendall both did it, but I think why it's expensive is like you got to think about like legality, how many people you have to have. You have to have probably a medical team out there at the same time. You have to have people watching the track. You have to have people like moving the bobsled, like all these different things, right? And so there's a group of like 15 of us. And so me and Kendall and another guy, we are in a group together with the driver, who is also the breaker. We don't get to push it at all. Like they have us get in, obviously, because like trying to have people hop in as like the track is going is probably way too dangerous. So you just have to think of like all safety kind of precautions and stuff like that. And so like we're 2/3 in the track, so we're like in this little shuttle, and we start on this little roller coaster track thing, and they push us off, and then we get onto the actual ice track. And the whole time, like it was really fun. What I would say is like I wouldn't travel all the way out to Utah just to do that. That'd be my like advice, especially for only 50 seconds. It was really fun. It was a really cool experience. It's something that is amazing that I got I get to say that I did, and I got to experience it. Whether it's great or bad, it's not the best thing I've ever done. It's not the worst thing I've ever done, but it was just a unique experience to be like, oh, like I've been bobsledding, you know. It's just another story that you have, and you could really feel in the turns as you're going up, you could feel the G's, right? You go about 65 miles an hour, but like if you want to have a more intense experience, then I'd say go on a roller coaster, right? I wouldn't say it's as intense as a roller coaster.
That's very interesting. Because I've never been
it's
like
smooth.
You know,
it's smooth
in
though.
something.
It's not
I've never
bumpy.
been in something that has G's like that. You know, other than like I've been on a roller coaster, but not. I've never been in a jet or anything, or like I've always wondered what.
Have you ever been on a really intense roller coaster ride, like one like that has pretty fast dips and stuff like that?
Fairly, probably not the craziest in the world, but I've been on a few.
Yeah, I mean those drops are gonna be more intense than I'd say the bobsledding is. Yeah. So, you want to know a crazy experience that I've been experiencing lately? Is I'm getting my tattoo removed. I have a very large tattoo on my back.
I've never gone through that process.
You guys can all guess what my tattoo is if anybody watches this podcast this long. But I'm getting it removed right now, and holy crud. The first one wasn't that bad. I have to do 10 sessions, and they have to be spaced out 6 weeks. The first one wasn't bad. The second one, it feels like somebody has like an automatic rubber band machine. You know when you're younger and people pull the rubber band back and snap it on you? It feels like that, like going like 1,000 times a second. It's like, like getting a tattoo is not that bad. People complain about it. They're like, oh, some places hurt. I don't know, like I'd say it's a 7 out of 10. I don't know if I've ever experienced a 10 out of pain though. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just trying to be like fair to the rest of the pain. It hurts pretty bad, even with numbing cream and stuff like that. So.
Oh dang! I've got about 12 tattoos. But I've never had one removed, so I have no idea what that feels like that kind of level of pain.
Yeah, I only have one tattoo. I got it when I was younger because it meant a lot to me, and it still has meaning to me. But like I just gotten older, and nothing against getting tattoos or anything like that. I just. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know, like I'm getting older. I'm like, I kind of wish I didn't have a tattoo, like, cause I only had one, like, and I'm just like, I kind of wish, and like I have the money, and I was like, I guess I can get it removed. Like I talked to them, and they're like, oh, it's only this much, and I'm like, all right. They're like, it's gonna take 10 sessions, which is 1.5 years, and so I just started. Like, it takes a long time to remove. So
I didn't know that. I didn't know how long it took. I never looked into it.
Well,
it's crazy.
It's a laser that the laser frequency targets the exact pigment of the color, and so which is the black in the ink,
was
right?
yours was it a black and just a black tattoo, or was it color?
Yeah, so color tattoos don't work as well.
Yeah.
And then depending on how, mine's huge too. It's like this much of my body, right?
It's on your butt.
You can't see that. It's as big as like a peck. It's as big as my peck.
Where is the tattoo? That's the question.
That's a secret. It's on my back. It's on my back. So it's like as big as my pec. I didn't want it that big. I wanted it like, like a hand circle. It's actually pretty small, but like maybe like a quarter of a pec. And the tattoo artist at the time, I didn't really like do much research on my tattoo artist, unfortunately. He's like, oh, we can't do it that much. Like it won't have enough detail. It wasn't well done. And so I just was like, like things change as you get older. Like your opinion, like your feelings, things change. And I'm like, I want to get this removed kind of thing. Yeah. Not like I want to or I need to. It's nothing bad or anything. It's actually, so like, I don't know. I just like, like I'm a different person than I was when I was 18 as in 12 years later, right? So that was kind of like the whole thought process. And so when they do the laser, it takes a long time after the process for it to break up, that you're supposed to wait. The longer you wait, the better, because it gives time for the ink to break up in your skin. And so it's supposed to be like 6 to 8 weeks. And so like I wait around the 8-week mark, and they said it's more than 1.5 years. And they take a ice blower it's like a vacuum but like blowing, or a blower blowing ice cold air as the laser's going, because the laser is so hot when it's hitting you, and you're wearing glasses and it's going that's what it sounds like. Wow. And that's it. That's the experience. And that's wild. A wild experience. I think that's more wild than the bobsledding. So
I've always been an adrenaline junkie, but the thing I want to do but I don't want to do
I was gonna ask you what is skydiving?
I've never done it. I'm so scared of it because I don't trust like one thing, like a parachute, right? Like, but I'm like, I want to do it. I want to do it so bad, but I'm so scared of it.
Let me tell you about my experience.
I know you've done it, right? But I don't know your experience. Yeah.
I'll tell you about it in 1 second though. I do need to take a piss, so we're gonna take a break for 1 second if that's okay.
Oh, yep, all good.
So me and Scott, we've been filming for quite a while. I didn't realize the time. I actually do have to take off in a little bit. So I just wanted to go through some rapid fire questions to get a little bit more about your opinion on this last year, Scott. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, first question. Favorite TV show that you watched in this last year?
Oh my God, Ted Lasso. I just started watching it.
I love that show. It's so good. It's so good.
I will fully admit, I'm a man child. I cry. Like, it's like...
I cry all the time. It's okay.
It's well written. It's funny. It's a little raunchy sometimes. But then there's like this feel good thing. Like the whole... Like I'm in season 2.
The whole thing is feel good. Like there's...
Yeah.
Season 2 kind of goes downhill a little bit for me. I feel like it's
I only
hard.
started it. So I'm only like maybe 6 episodes in, but like I was like crying like a baby in the first couple episodes.
Of season 2 or or just the first episodes. I just like it because Jason Sudeikis, like, you just like him as a person. Like, he does such a good job as that character. But I think where their little bit of a shortcoming is in season 2, and I could be completely wrong. This is just my total just assumption. And I know I'm being a little hard. I do love season 1 so much just because it is so feel good. Every episode, you're like, you just smile. You have a smile on your face. Like, it's one show, like, oh, it doesn't have to be like terrible or like edgy for you to like enjoy it, which is, it's a completely different feeling, right? Is that like, I feel like they didn't plan on having a second season maybe. And like, that's kind of like my feeling on it. Is like, they didn't plan. So like where are you going to go with it? You know, because after a while, you can't be losing. Like the team can't lose. Sorry, spoiler alert, but the team can't just keep losing, right? And eventually if you start winning, then where do you go from there? Because like the whole point is like, it is,
they're trying to get back to the Premier League, so they need to win. So I'm hoping they do, you know. But I'm not.
True. But it is about the characters.
Yeah.
It is about the characters, but in the end, like the overarching goal is for like the team to be better. So eventually if he makes the team the best team, right? Yeah, exactly. And if you want, the funny thing is Danny, like I see him in so many commercials now and like TV shows, like as a small character. I'm like, oh, there he is right there.
Yeah.
So I love that show. That is a great answer.
I will say my backup is Dexter because they came like.
I've never seen Dexter.
So I am a huge fan of the original eight season run, but the cinematography was so bad. But the story was good. So that just goes to show you that if the story's good and the character's good, it doesn't matter. But oh my God, I'm sorry to whoever DP'd that or whoever was the cinematographer, but it was god awful. But the new season, I'm glad they're doing one and done. It's 10 episodes and I'm 7 in. I haven't watched the 8th yet. That's out. And
sometimes things should just be one season long. That's just the reality of it, you know?
Yeah.
It's not written for more seasons, but a lot of times there's a money grab.
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be more seasons.
The cool thing is the original 8 left it open enough to where this makes sense. And they didn't overdo anything. There's only a couple characters that come back in, no spoilers, but they actually continue the story a bit. And it's like a decade later, and it makes sense. So like it ties into the original, yet it's a whole different story. And so I'm really enjoying that. If you've watched the original, like this is what was meant to happen. Them, so. You know, like I'm loving it. So that's my second favorite.
I'll have to check it out, but I can't watch anything like violent or dark with Kendall around. It was hard to rewatch Game of Thrones for that fact, but I still got it done. That'd be my favorite show that I watched this year was rewatching Game of Thrones. But Ted Lasso, I totally forgot about Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso was amazing. So
my wife
that'd be
watched
my choice
it
for a new
before
show.
me, actually. Like she actually was like, so we have this thing where like I watch everything, right? And she only likes certain things. So the funny part is, you know, she's like, I need shows to watch when you're not around. So when she started watching this, like we didn't have Apple TV, and she bought it, and then she was like, I'm not going to tell you. She's like, I'm watching a show you'd like, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. So she already watched the whole thing. And then now I'm like, oh my God, it's so good. So she's watching it with me again, which is hilarious. But
I can guess who, if you're watching season 2, I can guess who your least favorite character is in the show.
Oh man,
I'm not going to say it out loud. I'm not going to. Oh, I know. From season 1 to season 2, how much they changed. My least favorite character for sure.
Yeah, we'll talk offline about that. I think I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, but right. we won't ruin it. Okay, so next question. Quick fire. All right. What is the least favorite show that you watched this year? And we're gonna say it on the count of 3. All right. Let's see if we get the same thing.
Hold on. Least favorite show this year that I've watched?
Yeah, new show.
I can't think of the name of it. I already know.
Oh, I know mine, and I'm very proud of it.
All right, you say yours, then I'm gonna. It's not gonna be the same thing, but I gotta think of the name. Go ahead and say yours.
Hawkeye was terrible. Terrible. Have you seen Hawkeye?
Hold on a minute.
Uh-oh. We lost him. We are in the void. Well, it's just me, and I'll tell you guys about Hawkeye. Hawkeye is a terrible show. Oh, Scott's calling me. All right, you're back. I've been talking to people about Hawkeye for a little bit.
Oh, you were breaking up so bad. I'm trying to make sure we have a good connection. I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. I'm sorry about that. Internet, guys.
There we go.
Technology.
There we go.
Oh,
Okay.
I'll put it right here.
So I would think just start over with like when I said.
Okay.
What's your
least favorite show?
Yeah, your least favorite. So go.
Hawkeye is my least favorite show. Have you seen it?
I have. Oh, so this is good.
It's so bad. It is so bad. Okay, so first off, the actors are fine. The actors,
right?
Everybody does it except for the mom. The mom is a terrible actor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I've seen independent films where they've just thrown in their wife and they're a better actor than that mom was. Yeah. Her believability was so bad. Like, I'm like, are you just like, because, okay, I'm not an actor. I know that. I've seen myself act. But she literally was about my skill and like, she's just saying the lines. And it almost seems like she's like smiling as she's saying them. Like, did I do it? Am I saying it? Like, she's thinking about the lines and you can see it. There's no emotion. Like, it's fake emotion. And that bothered me. But okay, a few other things that I hate about the show is
we get an Austin rant. We get an Austin rant.
The storytelling was atrocious. The whole point of all the characters was atrocious. How cheesy it was, and I don't mind that Marvel's cheesy. I love Marvel. Don't get me wrong. I love Marvel. Yep. But okay, so for example, the last episode, all the LARPers, why are they there as their backup in the whole thing? Stupid as hell. And I know you wanted to bring them in, but then the worst part that just made me be like, I want to throw my remote.
Because the earlier LARPing thing was funny, right? The early,
but they didn't need to bring them back in.
They did
you didn't
not
need to bring them back in. But the end, when they're like, all these people are running in chaos because there's huge fights going on. People are shooting guns, and they're like, and the LARPers are like, I don't know, like, we need to help everybody, but we don't have the power to do it. Like, I don't know, like some kind of weird ass thing or whatever. They're like, I know how to do it. And they all look at each other. I'm like, oh my God, please don't. And they run into the building as everybody needs help, like that there's time to do this in like some kind of weird ass reality. And they come out and they're wearing their LARPing outfits and like, now we can help you. I'm like, who wrote this? I literally think people were sitting around in a table and they're like, what if we have them do this? And somebody at this point, because the show was going downhill with how great it was, since the beginning, they all looked at each other like it couldn't hurt, whatever.
So
that's literally the attitude that
I'm gonna agree with you on this because I love the humor that Marvel has, but
they missed the mark.
But they missed the mark on that one. Like when you look at Loki, I think that was brilliant. I thought Loki was hilarious. And
WandaVision's actually my favorite, I think.
Yeah, and that was great too.
WandaVision was really good.
That was great too.
So I like Haley Steinfeld. I think she's a great actress. And I think I saw a lot of people because I had to read about it because I was like, okay, am I the only person that's crazy? Am I taking crazy pills? Because I think this is bad. The writing's bad. The acting is good, but somewhat like it's not really their fault a lot of the times. If you're a good actor and there's bad dialogue, it just doesn't really work a lot of the time. And the story just wasn't interesting at all. Like even after the second episode, I was like, I'm only gonna keep watching this because I like Marvel, but I just thought it was terribly done. And it just wasn't believable to me. And the problem with these like shows when they do these spin-offs without the actual superheroes, which is cool because you want to get to know the people more. At the same time, it's like, it's almost like the first Spider-Man, and I'm not talking about Tobey Maguire, I'm talking about Tom Holland, where like, yeah, he's fighting these bad guys, but like, it's not as interesting because like, it's such like a little petty thing, and you're like, who really cares? I don't know, like when he was fighting that guy like that, like just like would like junkyard stuff or whatever, and like fly around, I was like, this is not that interesting to me. It wasn't. And like I like watching the superhero things for the superheroes maybe, and maybe that's my issue. But like a thing that bothered me is, okay, Hawkeye, right, who's supposed to be like this expert fighter and bow and arrow guy, right? Yep. All of a sudden, this girl, which is, I think she's a good replacement, but like, she's like, she's perfect at freaking shooting things too. And then also like he's having trouble fighting this.
Right? Like I did like
no,
her,
100%. It's just not. But like, okay, first off, she's an expert in karate for like 10 years, which you're not an expert in 10 years in any kind of martial arts, but karate, and now you can fight off people that are twice your size. It's not a realistic thing.
Yeah.
First off. So that bothers me too. And I know that it doesn't have to be realistic, but like it's very confusing. Like one of my biggest problems with Marvel is they don't have superpower, and same thing with actually DC as well, is there is no scale to superpowers or superheroes' powers.
Yeah.
There's no scale to them. My biggest problem with Captain Marvel.
Yeah, exactly.
Is
I was gonna say Captain Marvel.
where's her superpowers?
We have no
where's
idea.
her superpower scale?
Yeah.
It literally is like at one point she can't fight Thanos because he's stronger than her, but she can fly through his destroyer and blow the whole thing up. That is the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah.
There's no scale. Like they need a scientist. I don't know. Like pay a scientist. I don't care. It doesn't even have to be like, it can be like a theoretical scientist. But pay the damn scientist to put all the superheroes like on a scale and be like, all right, this person's powers are here. So in the movie, this is about the limit that they can go to. Maybe they can surge a little bit more and kind of go above that, but it doesn't make any sense because at some points, like, okay, so for example, Thor, right?
Right.
Thor is like fighting guys one-on-one, like in, I think it was like the second Thor or whatever. And this bothered me so much. He's fighting guys one-on-one, like struggling, fighting them, like boom, boom, boom. And then like this giant like beast of a thing comes out. Like, it's at the beginning of Thor 2 or whatever. And he literally takes it on one punch. Like, and it was supposed to be like the big bad, like bad guy, right? I'm like, this makes no goddamn sense. Sorry, language. But like, it doesn't make any sense and it bothers the crap out of me. I'm like, just have a scale for their powers. That's all. That's all I want. That's all I want is scale for their powers.
Think about this. So for like sci-fi movies or series, right? The best ones always have consultants where they have, like, they try to make it as real as possible. So
they have people like Neil deGrasse Tyson on there to make sure, be like, hey, you know, like the space travel thing that you're doing, that's actually not realistic.
Right.
And I get that superpowers aren't real, but like you could still come up with rules that they would have to follow in so that you're not just jumping the shark for everything.
I'm gonna ask you, are you a science fiction fan as well? Like I've always been an epic fantasy fan, and I've read books, and obviously like I love reading and I love watching movies, obviously being a filmmaker, but
yeah, I love Firefly. Firefly is one of my favorite science fiction shows.
So, have you seen The Expanse?
I have. And I will say that I like The Expanse, but the problem is like just like Game of Thrones is like the seasons were too spaced out. So when I try to get back into it, I was kind of so lost.
It's hard when you can't
even with the
binge it.
recap.
Yeah.
When you can't binge something all the way through, and that's why I take back, I recant what I said about the last season of Game of Thrones. It's not great,
right?
But it is good. It's not bad. It's not as bad as what everybody said.
My two favorite
subtleties.
Science fiction series of all time, one of them is The Expanse. Only because of how realistic it is, because of how they do space travel, the boots, it's not, you know what I mean? Like a lot of times people screw that up. So it's like,
yeah, no, 100%.
Like the whole, like how it really is in space and the politics of it. Like I find it interesting and the casting was good. So, and I'm glad they're wrapping it up. Like I love that. So it was a sci-fi show and Amazon picked it up. And they kept going with it.
It's really good. I've enjoyed it. I just haven't got back into it. So
the final season's happening right now, and so I'm really glad they're wrapping it up. It's still only like 6 seasons, I think. So it's cool. Like
I think I've only watched the first 3.
Oh yeah, so you got to keep watching. Like you should just start over. But what I'm saying is like I love the fact that like we all. So like I love the European thing. Like the Brits know how to do it. Where like a lot of times it's mini-series. Like I love things that just wrap up. Like don't do it too long, and that's one of my favorite things. So I'm glad that they're doing like this isn't a British show per se, but I'm just saying I'm glad they're doing 6 seasons and they're not trying to bleed it out. So there's that, and then so on Apple TV, have you heard of Foundation yet?
Mm-mm.
This is mind blowing. It's based off Isaac Asimov, and he's no longer with us. And his daughter is on like the I don't remember what she is. She's like some sort of executive producer or something. She's on the board or whatever, approving things. But it's a story that takes place over 1,000 years. And imagine trying to tell that. Like they're doing 8 seasons of this, 10 episodes, and it's brilliant. The first season just dropped, and I watched it all, and it's so like.
I just got rid of my Apple TV subscription.
Oh,
damn.
It's so good because it's
I just didn't think it was worth it to keep the subscription just for Ted Lasso. I mean, I like Ted Lasso. It was one of my favorite shows, but I'm like, I'm not going to keep paying for it for a whole another year. I mean, I'll re-up it. It just, they don't have enough things on Apple TV. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
So science fiction wise, they now have Invasion, which is okay. And they have another moon one, a Race to the Moon, I don't remember. And then they have...
Did Tom Hanks sell his soul to Apple, by the way?
Oh, yeah, because Tom Hanks has a movie I haven't watched yet on there, too.
No, he has 2 movies on there. He has two movies on there.
Yeah.
Like, is he the only, like, can he only work for Apple TV? That's what I don't get, so.
By the way, I keep looking down at my phone, and I'm gesturing to my phone.
I know.
And I don't know why I'm doing it, because it's on the table. I should be looking at the camera. But, no, so seriously, Foundation is something where, like, and so they have a podcast on Apple, which I love. I'm nerding out on it because... They did a podcast with, like, say, it wasn't the director. It was the producer. I don't remember. Like, but they have people involved in the movie, right? On this podcast. And they do an episode per, episode. And so it's cool that they're talking about character development, challenges while shooting. Like, it's just so awesome to hear about what they're doing. Because when you're trying to tell a story over 1,000 years, right? One of the guys involved in the film is just talking about, like, so we have a very wide lens and a very narrow lens. There's no in between. Like, we have to tell the story, wide, and then we have to go way deep in and very nitty gritty to the characters because you have to be involved in it. You have to care about the characters because how else would you tell a story over 1,000 years and keep people's attention, right? So it's very interesting, like, how they're doing this, and they have signed on for 8 seasons, and obviously they're adapting it and they're changing it a little bit, but it's brilliant. Like, you have to see this. Like, I was blown away by the first. I can't even picture
it right now. I'm gonna definitely have to watch it to get a better idea of it. So
it's something where they tackle, like, it's cool because it's also, when I say wide and narrow, like, the narrow lens is characters, but the wide lens is, like, they just tackle all these subjects that are timeless about, like, politics and religion and life and death. And, like, it's just such a deep show, yet also, the characters you identify with. It's just so amazing. Like, if they do this right over 8 seasons, it could be the best sci-fi of all time. Like, it's one of those things where, like, it could be that.
That's a pretty big.
I know. I'm just throwing it out in the universe right now.
I'll have to check it out, though. Then I guess I'm going to have to re-up my subscription. If I don't like it after the first few seasons, I'm going to be mad at you for... I'll pay for a month. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
pay
dude,
for
just
a month.
Pay for it for a month, binge that show, see what you think. Like, I don't even think it's a slow burn. Like, I think 2 or 3 episodes in, you're going to be hooked. Like, it's not like one of those ones where you got to, like, watch it forever. But... Watch the first season. Tell me.
I can never get into Outlander because of that. Because everybody's like, "No, it's so good." And I watched like 3 episodes. I'm like, "No, I'm still not into it."
Same thing for me. I couldn't get into it. Everybody was. I'm like, couldn't either. Yeah.
I mean, it took me 2 episodes to get into Peaky Blinders, but after I got into that, I was hooked, kind of thing, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I'm waiting for the last season. We'll see what happens. I don't know if the older lady, she died during the filming or right when the filming ended. So that should be interesting on how that's all gonna play out.
Yeah, I don't know.
In real life, not in the show, obviously.
Yeah.
People die all the time in the show. People are dead left and right. But
yeah,
Scott,
so I know we've been going for like 2.5 hours. So I know. If you want to wrap it up,
I know. I do have to take off, unfortunately. Yeah. I would love to keep continuing this conversation, which we're definitely going to hop on another one of these. Oh, yeah. Just because I enjoy talking to you, obviously. And
anytime you want to have me,
really fun conversation. Yeah. Well, maybe on the next one, because I don't really have any. There's no strict rules to this podcast, but I do want to wish you a happy New Year.
You too, buddy.
And I know you're about to go to a party, so hopefully you had a good pregame and good conversation starter. Then you can go talk to other people about your opinions on TV shows now.
Yes, TV shows, bourbon. I want to call it the fact that we started this podcast or video series, whatever this is. We started out talking actually about bourbon for like at least 15 to 20 minutes, which I love.
Oh shit, my camera just turned off. So it's gonna end up with you, Scott. Just say cheers to the camera. So I'm out. I don't know why my camera just turned off for no reason whatsoever. It didn't stop recording or anything. Well, cheers guys.